Alright, so for the past couple of months, I've been working on this product called Deploycrate, which aims to make self-hosting or running your own servers feel like serverless. It is starting to reach a state where I can actually showcase it a bit more. So what I want to do today is I want to provision a server and then deploy an application to that server using Deploycrate. All right, so I'm in the app dashboard here in my team MVP labs, and I don't have any servers. So the first thing to do is create a server, and I'm gonna call this one application server one of type application. There's gonna be a bunch of different server types coming in the future, but for now it's only a server that's optimized for running applications. I'm also gonna change the SSH port here. And then I need an API key. We currently support two providers, Hetzner and DigitalOcean. So I'm going to create a key here for a credential here for Hetzner and MVV Labs projects. And I need a token value that I'm going to grab off screen. There we go. And then I'm going to select Hetzner. And then I can go on to configure server. I'm just going to pick the cheapest option here, click provision server. Now what is happening is that is provisioning the server in my Hetzner account, and once that is done, it will start running a bunch of scripts that will set up some users. They will set up a create operator user that the project will use to interact with the server with. It will set up an emergency user. If anything really bad happens, we have that emergency user to go in and update credentials. And finally, it will create an admin user that the customer or the user of the project can use to access the server through SSH. It also does a bunch of security configurations. It installs fail to ban so that we can ban bad actors. It does some SSH hardening so that we can only access the server through SSH. Basically locks down all ports so we can only access very specific ports. It installs a reverse proxy, it installs Docker, it installs a bunch of things, and here finally it is installing and validating the create operator, which is the Go API that is running on all servers that we use to interact with servers with. So when we want to deploy a new application, or we want to restart it or stop it or delete it, if we want to update our secrets, everything here happens through the create operator service. Now, it's not done yet, but soon we'll also have telemetry data, and that will also be pulled through this create operator service. Now we are done. I'm gonna get some credentials here that I can save to access my server in the future if I wanted to. Ideally, a user should never have to access the server. So once I click I have saved my credential, it will clear the credential in the database so that I, Morten, as a Deploycrate owner, whatever, can access your credential. I have no idea what your credentials are for that server. Now we see here that we have application server 1. That's an application server. You can see what version the operator is running. And we can see some logs from the services that runs on the server. So we can see Caddy here, which is the reverse proxy. We can also go in and check the operator, which is now the green version. So this is using a deployment strategy called blue-green, so that we never take down the operator. We ensure that we always have one running. We can see the logs from there. We can see the logs from Docker, from fail to ban, from Node Exporter, which is where we'll pull server telemetry data, and finally through SSH. If we go back to overview, we can now see we have one server, we have 0 applications, 0 releases, but that will change in a second when we go into create an application. All right, so let's create an application. So I click new application, and I need to go through 3 steps here. So the first one is to give the application a name. I'm gonna use personal block. I can choose between different deployment strategies, the default for the application, and then we can select on a per environment basis in the next step. I'm just going to choose immediate, so we switch traffic instantly whenever we deploy a new version. If instead we want to have 0 downtime, we could go with blue-green, but for now let's just leave it at immediate. Then I can also choose between the packaging format of the application. This application here is built in Go, so it compiles down to a binary. If I wanted to deploy it as a Docker image, I can also do that and connect my Docker Hub account or my DHCR account, or just provide a public image. Now I'm going to use GitHub, and I'm going to use GitHub releases. So if I click add new here, I can create a credential to my GitHub account and give access to this repository that is associated with this application. So I'm going to click connect GitHub here, do my personal account, and give access to all repositories. I can see all my repositories come up here, and I need to select Morten Vistesen. So click next here. And now we need to set up staging and production, which is the default environments that you have to have when you deploy something with deploy grade. Now for the domain, I'm just going to say staging at mortenvistesen.com. I'm going to give it an application port. And we also have some rollout configuration. We'll have rolling coming soon in the future, but for now we will simply just roll it out to all target servers at once. We then select the server we just created, and then we need to set up some environment secrets that I'm gonna grab off screen. And I can just do a bulk add here, save all, which creates a bunch of secrets for this environment, encrypts them in the database so nothing is exposed. Then I need to do the production environment here, where the domain will be Morten Vistesen. I'm going to use blue-green for production. So I need to provide two application ports, one for the blue and one for the green instance. And we're also going to target application server 1. I also need to add secrets here. So get that in, save all. And this is basically it. So now I can click next to review. And I can see a bit of an overview of the secrets I added. And we have the ports and the domain and all the other details. So if we click finalize, we get taken into the application overview where you can see we have no recent releases. We have some details here. We have 2 environments. Now, if I click in here, once we actually deploy this application, we will be able to see environment logs. But for now, I need to trigger the first deployment, and I can see the provider is GitHub releases, the repository is my personal GitHub account, and then I need to provide a name and a version. But before I can actually deploy this and see it live on the domain, I need to add a record here for this server instance. So let me do that really quick. All right, so that is now added. So if I go back to deploy, and then I go into GitHub, and I need to go into my own account here, and I can see I have a v1 release where the binary or the asset is called Morten Vistesen Linux AMD 64. So let me copy that and put it in here, and then I need to specify that it's version 1, which is associated with this tag right here. So I click deploy, and we can see deployment has started on 1 target. We don't have more server targets, but we can add, so we can actually just spread our requests across multiple servers if we wanted to. And it's actually already done. We can see release here is completed. We get all the events that happened. And now if I click on this, we should actually see my personal website on staging.mortenvistesen.com. And this is exactly the same as what's running on Morten Vistesen that we haven't deployed to yet. This is on my old server, but we can see it's the same application that is running. So now back here in the dashboard, I can now also access my logs. I can see what is happening in my application, and it's pulled live directly from the server. Now in the future, we will have support for telemetry, so you can actually search in your logs. You can integrate it with OpenTelemetry and have more detailed logs and error rates and CPU and memory usage, all of the things that you need to monitor applications. This is still in a very early state, very close to an alpha release, so it needs a bit more polish before I can actually release this to users. But if you want to run your own servers, if you want to bring down your cost, if you want to get more value for your money, please reach out to me at morten@deploygrade.com. I would love to hear how you self-host or run your own servers now, or what you would like to see added in this product. The version 1 release will come with everything you've seen today, in a bit more stable version. And then in the future, we will also provide support for running databases on your own servers and running telemetry on your own servers, plus creating private networks and basically getting as close as possible to having a serverless experience without actually paying the serverless premium.